As you can see behind me here, I'm currently making a Cafe Racer COWL or hump, whatever you want to call it, out of a wire buck because the entire thing is going to be made from sheet metal from scratch. So let's get after it. I like to start with cardboard first just to nail the design. Sometimes I can go through quite a few designs before I find one that I actually like. I've mentioned in one of my recent videos that I do the sit, stare and think method. Let me know in the comments if you do this as well when you're making something from scratch. And if you're looking for an easy way to make a seat base on your motorcycle that molds to your bike perfectly, this is the stuff to get. It's a thermal plastic. Just add heat. It cuts and sands just like wood does, so it's really easy to work with. And if you want a really professional finish, get the seat clips with it as well. All of this stuff is available on our website. I'll leave a link in the description below. I'm building a wire buck of the hump shape that I want out of some 2.4mm steel TIG filler rod. This stuff is great because as you cut it to length, you'll know where it's symmetrically perfect on both sides. So when you shape up the metal, you'll see where your highs and lows are, and you can just manipulate the steel until you get it pretty perfect. And that way you'll have a hump that's even on both sides. Once you're happy with the wire buck, it's just a matter of moving to paper, and the paper is then going to allow you to know where to do the shrinks. I need to pleat the paper in every spot where I think it's going to be pulled in, and so therefore I can move to the power hammer and start doing the shrinking so that I can get this shape exactly what I want. So now that I know where all these pleats are, I know I want to shrink it here in every single section. And in order to reference that so I know where that is, I'm just going to use this guy here. I know this marker is going to wear off over time while I'm metal shaping, so that's why I've done the little dot marks. And everything that I'm teaching you here is what I've learned through metal shaping. I'm no expert, I'm still learning as I go, but I do know if you use the center punch mark, you will be able to find those reference points later and be able to shape it to what you need it to be. Almost everything in my workshop is on wheels, including my hydraulic lift table, which I've upgraded the wheels on that, making it easier to maneuver, and they've been fantastic. And my power hammer is no exception to that rule. The only dilemma I had was I didn't want this thing to bounce around the workshop, so I made the wheels retractable, and it's been an awesome mod ever since I did it. It just gives me the ability to maneuver this thing around the workshop and give me space whenever I need it. I think the only machine in my entire workshop that doesn't have wheels on it is my metal lathe, but it sits in the corner and I've never really needed to move it anyway. It's a bit of a running joke now with my local hair and forb store because whenever I order something, the question is, do you want wheels with that? And the answer is always yes. And if you do want to create something like this at home, you don't necessarily need the power hammer. Yes, it does speed up the process and it makes things a lot faster and easier, but you can still do the same thing with a shrinking stump, which is just a piece of wood with a bowl cut into it. And then the only other two items I'd probably recommend to get started is a nylon hammer and a sandbag. I absolutely love metal shaping. It's a really rewarding process of taking something that's just a flat bit of metal and making something of your creation. So this is the part I've been currently working on. As you can see, it's getting a nice curve right here. It's got a bit of a ducktail, so I still need to sort that out by shrinking the metal. This is 1.1 or 18 gauge steel. It's cold rolled, mild steel, and it's really heavy duty. Like, this is super, super heavy and solid, and I don't really feel like it needs to be that heavy duty. So I'm gonna drop down to this here. This is 20 gauge or 0.95 millimeters, and I think this is gonna be absolutely ideal for what we're working on. Everywhere where it's touching, I wanna go around to make a mark and then go back with the nylon hammer and the sandbag and bash those areas out and just get it closer and closer. As you can see, there's a gap here under my finger. That point there is going to get closer and closer if we keep finding the points that touch and just keep pushing those down. But for now though, let's get this 20 gauge or 0.95 steel cut out to the template, and then we can start shaping this new piece, and I think this will work a lot faster. And once you get it as close as you can planish the thing out. You can do this by hand as well, or by a planishing hammer, or even an English wheel is even better. That's going to be your finishing process. English wheels, the small ones, is probably what you want for something like this. They're going to be ideal, and they're not that expensive to purchase if you're really into this sort of thing and you're going to do more and more of it. So as you can see here, this is a few minutes on the power hammer. It's getting the overall shape, which is pretty cool. It's just a bit of manipulation in here because I probably shrunk it a little bit too much there. So I'll get that back down again, stretch it back out with the nylon hammer on this sandbag. But I will say one thing about metal shaping, and I've mentioned this a few times in my other metal shaping videos, it's a really rewarding, fun, and almost addictive process. Once you get started, you get into flow state and you just can't stop. It's one of those things that you may end up purchasing more tools for. Please don't blame me for that, but you will end up getting the tools that you could probably use on other things as well. So it's not something just for this, but it will end up making you make better parts because of it. Here's an example of doing some hand planishing. If you don't have a planishing hammer, you can easily do this by hand just by getting something like a dolly, even a toe ball or a hammerhead in a vise, and just hammer against it and it will flatten out that area. You just have to spend some time doing it. It's not going to be obviously as quick as a planishing hammer, but it can still do the same thing. For what I'm about to do next to make the seat base, it requires me to find the perfect center line of this subframe so that I can make the seat base fairly accurate. And this is just one way that I found to do it easily. I'm using the bead roller to round the edges of the seat pan to make it a perfect fit on the bike, and even though I've cut this to size, I know it's going to fight me on the final fitment. As I expected, by rounding the edges has flattened out the seat base, so now I just need to use the shrinker stretcher to try and manipulate it to get it back to where I need it to be. Oops, I went a little bit too far as you can see, but now that I've done that, I can just go over to the shrinker stretcher, change out the dies, and that'll allow me to bring it back to where it needs to be. Before I weld the hump to the seat pan, I just want to tip the front edge, which will do two things. First up, it'll give it a lot more strength and also give it a nice professional finish. I honestly could not be happier with the final fit and finish of this. It turned out a lot better than I first anticipated. In fact, I've even started making side panels, as you can probably see here. So if you like this kind of video, definitely go and subscribe and check out one of these next. Coming up soon, we'll be building the side panels as well as a front fender and a few little ideas with that as well.